Good evening. Welcome to the Pearl Report. I'm Diana Lin. Hong Kong's art scene has blossomed partly due to the arrival of international art fairs, such as Art Basel. And while the art world is historically a boys' club, Hong Kong women have become increasingly influential as artists, administrators, gallerists, and so on. Producer Erica Poon spoke to some of them about their contributions. We head first to Macau, where one artist shares a view of the world through her lens.
Most people think of Macau as a place where they go to gamble, casino. And I think there's also an aspect of nature and also culture. I like to come over and have a quiet walk in the streets. I'm Pat Falk. I'm a photographer. I usually like to find an aspect of the city that is a little bit hidden. For instance, these beautiful old houses that most people come again and again, probably never discover it. I love the trees, and there's some really beautiful old trees. I spent much of my formative years studying in high school in England and Switzerland and later United States. And for a while I was seeing the changes in Hong Kong every time I came back. And I felt photography was the way that I could capture this moment. And I think I was always sort of very keen on observing people.
Pat studied with American photographer Ansel Adams after obtaining her degree in environmental design at UCLA.
You learn to wait for the right moment and the right lighting, and it is a very good discipline. This was a photograph I took in Kwai Lin many years ago. It was a field. In the field was this particular person with a parasol. That particular figure gives it a focal point, and also the orange parasol also draws the eye to it. Without that, it would not have the scale, the liveliness, and the focus. Of course, nowadays you can Photoshop everything, you can just put the person there, but in the days of Ansel Adams, we tend to take things as they are without disturbing, and that is still the way I like to do it today.
Pat is the eldest daughter of the late Henry Falk. In the 70s and 80s, she photographed all around Asia, including a then-secluded China.
I thought one day, when all these people start traveling, that would not be this quiet moment that one could enjoy in solitude. Now we know China is a bustling, vibrant city.
She also photographed the world she traveled with her husband, a hotelier, on his business trips. She has published 6 books. In 2000, Pat came across a Taoist master.
He said, you know, without knowing it, you seem to be going to pilgrimages all your life. You should just absorb the energy, because the moon, the sun, the mountains, they're full of energy. And I don't know, something unusual happened to my photography. I noticed some unusual light effect that wasn't there before, and some of them were quite dramatic. I was photographing just the full moon, and when I developed the film, out come all this amazing energy that really leads me to think that there really is so much more out there that we don't see. I was photographing this statue, and I took photographs consecutively. The eyes of the Buddha, they seem to be different. And also the quality of the color and the lighting seems to be so different. I have also shown it to printers and technicians to make sure the ones I've included in my book anyway are not as a result of camera fault. But of course, people are free to think what they like, and there's no problem.
Then this happened in 2007.
There was a carnival in Venice, so I was dressed up in a Chinese costume. And my husband took a picture of me. He said, there's a golden ball following you. And then when I went to where he was holding this camera, I saw a pulsating ball. When I took the picture, it was this Mandela-like orb. I just accept there are things that appear, and I think they're rather beautiful. And I think that after many years of photography, this is like a bonus. Nowadays, there's so many gifted women, men artists. I don't really think of them as men or women, I think of them as artists.
My name is Henrietta Sui Leung, and I am the founder and the CEO of Gallery Aura Aura. Today, actually, we are hosting a show opening for one of my artists, Miss Cindy Ng, who is an ink artist. She has never really enjoyed using just a brush and paper to create her work. Over the years, she has been experimenting using red wine, white wine, milk, Coca-Cola, other forms of pulp, or different color pigments into creating her works. Basically, she would hang a piece of canvas vertically in her studio, and then she would try out all these different material or liquid, a lot of dripping of all these different material. For example, this piece here, different viewers who appreciate it may see different things. Today, I see a fish, and the next day, a ball of energy. And the next day, a landscape painting. My passion in art started when I was 3. I have always been a painter. I started going to art classes, but my mother passed away when I was 16. She was my role model in creativity. My dad said, let's focus in your Hong Kong certificate exam. Let's not get distracted. So we canceled a solo show that I was supposed to host. After that, I moved on and went to study abroad. And I wanted to do art, but my dad was very much against it.
Henrietta studied economics and psychology and became a banker. In 2003, she started her Master of Business Administration program.
At that point, I realized there's so much you can do apart from just finance, which I have already done it for 10 years at that point. It was my entrepreneurship professor who enlightened me, because I asked him, I really want to make something out of a business. So he asked me, what are you most passionate about? And I said, well, it's definitely visual art.
Henrietta started a gallery in 2006 with her savings.
At that time, there were only a handful of galleries. It was really Chinese contemporary art that was booming. I thought, there are thousands of contemporary artists in China. Why don't we take a part of it? The most important thing I achieved was the fact that I stepped away from my first career, from my comfort zone, from my safety net, and I jumped into something that is totally unknown in Hong Kong.
But with the arrival of international art fairs in the years following,
it just created such a buzz and interest, both locally and in the Asian area, and then we saw a big influx of galleries.
In 2012, Henrietta founded the Hong Kong Art Gallery Association. More than 50 galleries have joined.
We want to encourage people to come to the galleries and to communicate what galleries are and what we do. It is an era where art practitioners, be it artists, museums, institutions, or galleries, we should be collaborating on a large-scale basis. Artists demand a distribution channel in a very quick way. In Hong Kong, I've seen a lot of women working in the arts world, be it in an institution, or as an artist, or as gallerists.
Nina Pride is a featured artist at Henrietta's gallery.
Fundamentally, I have to really like an artist's work before I would consider working with the person. Every time I visit Nina at her studio, she's challenging herself. Once she finishes something, now I want to make a bigger one. To me, she's very literati and poetic.
I always notice the sky and the tree, the hills, how they look like, how the weather change, and then put it all to my brain. So when I painting, I all use that element.
She has collected a lot of photos, and when she's painting something, certain parts needs something, she would look through her albums and she would pick out something that really catches her attention. I always will also envy my own professional artists because they can have a career by creating art, but I can still paint at home. One day I may have a charity show. If one wants to be a professional artist, you have to dedicate all your working hours into it. It is very difficult to run two professional careers parallel.
In Hong Kong, we're all pressed for space, so having a larger area for talks where artists can share their process, or concerts where musicians can share new work is really important.
How one gallerist is making the best of a tight situation.
Just having this art space is perhaps not enough. You really have to encourage the public to visit these art spaces.
People don't need to have an art education background in order that they can appreciate art.
And what these ladies are each doing to make art more accessible and enjoyable for all. That and more after the break. Stay with us.